Hello, Dr. Palomino. This is Module 7, Adult Learning in the Digital Age. My name is Lisa Singh. This is for the Department of Education at Aspen University. The professor is Dr. Palomino. Hi, Dr. Palomino. And today is May 1st. So you'll see me looking this way. I'm referring to the assignment. I've written it down. So we'll start off with adult learning in the digital age. Merriam and Mayarima 2014 reported that most, if not all, of life's transactions involve the use of a computer. Some of these life transactions included making purchases, looking up information, and scanning for a bus or train schedule. The transactions did not involve human interaction. The context in which learning could take place not only involved motivation or self-directedness, but could also involve technological and social contexts. To access information, many learners would turn to the technology-infused internet as the platform would provide immediate access. The immediate access of information has garnered a practical label of the present age as the information age, according to Merriam and Mayarima 2014. The use of the internet has changed the relationship learners have with information and their access to information. Information is readily available, but in times past would have required correspondence with an expert or reference to books on the subject. The access to information has ushered in a more meaningful way of learning for many adults, as adults search for practical and relevant information. Merriam and Mayarima noted that though access is easier, many learners could be misguided by inaccurate information. The shift from the industrial age to the digital age was said to be marked by easy access to information and the manipulation of information, which quote unquote replaced manual labor and manufacturing. That's a direct quote from page 191. The shift would leave many educators ill-equipped in merging technology into classroom and digital teaching practice. I will discuss the evolution of digital learning, barriers to online learning, along with solutions, and an explanation of the literacy of technology. Okay. So Merriam and so I'll start with the evolution of digital learning. Merriam and Mayarima reported that the technological advances in communication and accessing information have precipitated a distinct phenomenon. The phenomenon is one where the world is constantly connected to their smart devices to check in on other people, social networking pages, email, and information. Indeed, technology has afforded many the luxury of keeping in touch with their friends, family, and the world. The authors noted that this plugged-in life, quote unquote, has permeated every aspect of life and should be considered as one that has modified the processes involved in learning. The text informed that as early as the 1840s and late 1800s, both England and the United States sought to bridge the gap that existed between learners in distant geographical areas and learning institutions via correspondence through mail. Radio and television had long been used as vehicles for delivering learning instruction. Merriam and Mayarima cited the 2012 U.S. Census Bureau report and revealed that 71% of households in the U.S. had connection to the internet, and that 80% would access the internet through their mobile device or through their computer at home. Asian households headed the use of the internet with 88%, while white and black households were quantified at 82% and 73% respectively. That count also included Native American for the black households. Purchases that were made online were said to have been done by 55% of adults, while 80% of adults used the internet to access information about their health. With the advent of the internet, various educational possibilities existed that involve synchronous and asynchronous instruction. Synchronous instruction involves teaching and learning that occurs in actual time, where learners gather online to participate in lecture, discussion, and other learning activities. Asynchronous instruction is teaching and learning that can be accessed by learners at any time during the day or night. technology has also afforded teaching and learning to be delivered with variations that include courses that are blended or completely online. Benjamin and Orodho 2014 acknowledged the importance and use of technology and the internet in providing learners with valuable teaching instruction in Rwanda. The authors noted that in the past, audiovisual instructional material had been presented via film, television, and radio. So they paralleled what Miriam and Bayarima had mentioned about the United States and England using radio and television, and even the mail for teaching. The medium acquainted learners with the latest information about technology, modern science, culture, industry, and with situations that could be accessed through direct observation up until that time. With current advances in technology, the authors marshaled the use of technology and instruction as the approach aided learners in visualizing natural phenomena, such as a molecule's migration in and out of cells. Miriam and Bayarima 2014 reported that with information increasingly easier to access via the internet, a demand for digital learning was precipitated. The phenomenon has been significantly observed in adult learning environments. The authors cited Allen and Siemens' 2011 report that gathered information in excess of, this is a quote, of over 2,500 colleges and universities. That's page 193 in the text. The data revealed that enrollment in online learning environments had steadily increased and reported that in 2010, over 6 million learners enrolled in online learning, up from 5.5 million learners enrolled in 2009. When comparing the increase in enrollment during 2002 through 2009, the authors noted an 18.3% increase in online enrollment. They compared the enrollment rate to the 2% rate of growth of the overall higher education student population. That's also another direct quote, page 193. Several online learning platforms have emerged as a result. And some of these online learning platforms, Capella and the University of Phoenix, are some of the examples of adult learning environments that Miriam and Bayarima presented. These online universities were said to be readily accessed by learners in both distant and near geographical areas, and saw enrollment from international students as well. In 2010, Allen and Siemens 2010, as cited by Miriam and Bayarima in 2014, the University of Phoenix was said to have approximately 600,000 graduates, over 470,000 current enrollees, and more than 30,000 educators. That concludes the advent of online learning. Of digital learning. I will now transition to describe the barriers to online learning and provide two solutions. Miriam and Bayarima 2014 reported on several barriers learners face as they engaged online learning. These challenges involve locating within the syllabus assignment requirements that were defined clearly, instructional quality, and responses from their instructors that were timely. Alivo et al. 22, in their study that probed the perceived barriers held by students as they migrated from synchronous and asynchronous online learning, critically examined the supports in place by the academic institution for students. These authors found that constraints within the institution affected overall academic performance. Perceived support from the institution that was either lacking or not available, and perceived institutional barriers negatively affected academic performance. Alivo et al. Reported that students expressed frustration over not being heard by their instructors or the institution, and that no action had been taken by the institution in response to their complaints. Students also expressed concern over not acquiring skills necessary to care for patients and not receiving enough patient exposure. The students expressed concern over not being able to interact with their peers and cited the activity as one where they were able to share information, perspectives, and resources. Interestingly, the research did not reflect that a lack of digital literacy was a primary hindrance to academic performance. The students were said to possess capacity in overcoming the swift migration to online learning that was precipitated by the pandemic. Alivo et al. 2022 discussed solutions for mitigating these obstacles for online learning within the radiologic discipline. One solution was that students should be given easy access to resources made available by the institution in a convenient and timely fashion. Support and technology from peers and the institution were said to be critical. The authors reported that elements should be in place that explicitly inform the learners of the available resources, how they can access those resources, and how to obtain access to them. So that's a direct quote, page 81 from Alivo et al. Study. A proactive approach should be implemented should the support that is provided be compromised. A process that allows for communication that is constant between the instructors, administrators, and learners was said to be key in helping learners feel supported. Yeah. Okay, so now I'll transition over to the components of technology literacy. Miriam and Bayarima reported that though a learner's capacity in obtaining and using information were considered elemental to performing well in the present age, a learner could be overwhelmed by the rapid pace of change and the oversupply of information. The deluge of information precipitates the learner's capacity for processing the information, especially when the new information contended with other sources or previous learning. Learners were thus encouraged to critically analyze the worth and practicality of the new information. Other challenges included the increased surveillance when accessing the information, the resultant loss of privacy, and the longevity of the information placed on the internet. Much importance was placed on a learner's ability in assessing new information. It was suggested that the information be critiqued for accuracy, relevance, and credibility. Other elements involved evaluating the information for purpose, objectivity, and whether or not the information was current. Learners would endeavor to verify the information that had been provided by experts in the field. So this would be a careful analysis of the website, looking at the credentials presented by the website author and anyone else that the website author may have referenced in whatever presentation. Miriam Bayarima reported that learners should treat the websites the same way that, Miriam and Bayarima reported that learners should treat the websites that they hope to obtain information from as they would a published work. Learners should be literate in evaluating the website for potential bias, accuracy, relevance, appropriateness, and validity. The approach was particularly important as many websites were said to not undergo peer review. Wright and Grabowski 2011, as cited by Miriam and Bayarima, reported that technology literacy would guide the learner in investigating, and this is a direct quote, the who, what, where, when, and how of a website. That's page 202. Key elements in probing these questions were a focus on who created the website, looking for the author's credentials, and whether or not these were listed anywhere on the site, and probing the reasons the website was created. Learners would also critically examine the voices and beliefs that have been excluded from the website's presentation. The text gives the example of a pharmaceutical company that creates a website to advertise a drug that they have developed. The learner, keen in their assessment of the website, would detect that any information presented on the website has the potential of being biased. This concludes my presentation on the adult learning in the digital age. I have presented information on the evolution of digital learning. It was really cool to see that in the in the 1800s, the United States and England were using mail to disseminate information. Really cool. I didn't know that. I also so that was the outline of the evolution of learning. I also presented the barriers to online learning and provided 2 solutions. Olivo et al. Spoke well of, having that open communication between students and the administrators, and of course the instructors as well, and the tools that would be available to access information, and how and letting the students know how to access that information. That was key to the solutions that Olivo et al. Presented. Also, I explained the components of technology literacy. So it's really important that learners critique these websites and make sure that that they're credible, that they're not only a solid website, but they're coming from authors who are hopefully experts in the field. So I thank you for your time. Again, this is Lisa Singh presenting on adult learning in the digital age. The professor is the great Dr. Palomino. Thank you.